What is up, everybody? It's your boy Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast, and this is the Undefeated Friday post-weigh-in show. We're talking UFC Vegas 44. We are taking one last look at these fighters as they step on the scale, get just that little extra bit of information before they get in the cage. Hopefully, we can make some extra money based on the things that we see today. Quick note, right off the top, unfortunately, Jared Vanderaa has not been medically cleared after making weight today. I just locked in a 2-unit bet on him at plus 185. I decided I liked that spot. And of course, naturally, that means that the doctors go ahead and cut the fight, pull it right out from under us the day before fight. So a little bit frustrated with that. We're down one fight on the card, but still plenty of action left. And honestly, probably a little too much action in my case. First fight of the night. Luis Smolka taking on Vince Morales. Both men came in at 135 pounds. Luis Smolka went for the slow flex. I was a little impressed with that. It's like the slow clap, like he was kind of feeling himself a little bit up there today. He's in great shape. He was smiling. He was very relaxed. Vince Morales, honestly, he looked good too. I can't take anything away from the kid. Gave his chest a good little pound as he got off the scale. Size advantage goes to Smolka. When these guys faced off, I was surprised to see just how much larger Smolka is. I thought he'd be a little bit bigger, but not as much as he actually is once they're standing toe-to-toe. This is a spot where I have liked Smolka all week. I got in earlier. I think I got minus 145. He's been bet up to about minus 150 at this point. There's been a little resistance. I see a little bit of love out there for Vince Morales. I mean, even my guy, Gianni the Greek, likes the Morales side here in this spot, so that makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm happy with my position. I got 2.8. Oh, you know what? I got minus 140. I got 2.8 units to win, too, on Luis Smolka. That's where I got in at, so beat the line, move by about 10 cents. That's all we can ask for in these spots. Next up, Claudio Pueles came in at 155, taking on Chris Gruetzemacher, 156. Claudio Pueles looked cut up today on the scales. Kid is solid and good shape, looked excellent. Gruetzemacher, on the other hand, he looked completely out of it. Now, I've got the beanie on to keep my head warm and make sure I'm not embarrassed by how awful my hair looks until I get it cut in a day or two. But I would be putting the tinfoil cap on right now if I didn't have the beanie. Gruetzemacher just didn't look like he wanted to be there. He gave a half-assed little meh flex, and he just didn't look good. Big eye blinks. I mean, I don't know if he's having a tough day or somebody insulted his dog. Like, I'm not sure, but he really didn't look like he wanted to be there today. When they face off, Claudio Pueles is so much bigger than Chris. This is one even more so than the last fight where I thought Claudio was going to have a size advantage. Didn't expect it to be quite this drastic. Claudio Pueles is much bigger than Chris Gruetzemacher. I like that spot. I have liked that spot all week. I got in at plus 100, even money. This fight is still a pick'em, and I am tempted to back the dump truck up and put a little bit more on Claudio Pueles. I really like him in this spot, and I like him inside the distance. I like his sub prop. We know that 3 out of the 4 losses for Chris Gruetzemacher have come by sub. He got hurt and rocked badly in round 1. His last fight, that KO is on the table, so maybe just inside the distance is kind of the way to go here, but I really like Claudio Pueles on Saturday, and everything on the scale today reinforced that fact for me. Alonzo Menifield taking on William Knight, the muscle meat battle of Saturday's fight card. Menifield came in at 205.5, Knight 206. Alonzo Menifield, Muscle Mountain. This dude gave a solid flex. He made some funny faces up there. You could tell he was feeling good. No struggling with the weight cut, which is always good to see, unless you're betting against him and want an advantage. So William Knight got up there, and he required the box of shame. He is indeed thick Willie today. Holy hell, this man gave a flex, but he made 206, looked incredible, more muscle than I've ever seen on a human frame in my lifetime. When they face off, here's the good part. Now, I'm already on William Knight, I'll tell you that much. But when they face off, Alonzo Menifield, I kind of expected to tower over him, and it was a spot where Menifield is taller, but not by a lot. I mean, Thick Willie is not out of it in this spot. We talk about all the time, he's a small guy at 205. He's too short for 205. He's too little. But you know what? Alonzo Menifield is a guy who's a brick shithouse himself. He's not massive. He's not tall. He's not towering over my guy, William Knight. So the size difference isn't that drastic. And if anything, the wideness of Thick Willie is really the story here. How broad this man is. He's going to have that muscle and power advantage. Very few people have that over Alonzo Menifield, and I really think Knight will in this spot. I bet him earlier in the week. I think I got plus 145. That's been beaten down to about plus 120. Now it does, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my page here because I'm seeing something a little bit interesting. It does look like A decent bit of love has come back in the other way on Menifield, so you can get about plus 130 out there now on William Knight. There's been a lot of back and forth on this one. This is one of those angry Twitter mob wars for Saturday's card. There's going to be a lot of people on both sides of this one. Should be fun. Cheyenne taking on Mallory Martin. Cheyenne Vlismus coming in at 115.5. Mallory Martin making 115 on the dot. Now, Cheyenne came in with a cocky smirk, gave that one arm flex, and she looked good. She looked good. For somebody who had COVID and is coming in here, potentially having lung issues, looks like she did her cardio. She's on point, in shape, and sorry, JP. Now, her opponent, Mallory Martin, she looked good also. Now, she's one of these fighters who I don't have a great read on. We've seen her a couple times, not a whole lot. She doesn't have the type of figure where it's one way big or the other, so can't really speak to much of the form that she looked in, but she looked fine when they face off. Now, this is a spot where Mallory Martin actually had a slight size advantage. It's not anything drastic. It's not big, but she's a little bit bigger than Cheyenne. Good face-off, friendly face-off. This is a fight that I still don't really want any part of. I'm going to lean with Cheyenne. I think Cheyenne is the side here. I think she's stronger. I think that rage that she carries inside her is going to be kind of the point here. But Mallory Martin had a full camp. She's in good shape. She's a strong wrestler. And if Cheyenne is at all compromised from that lung issues from having COVID, she is probably going to take over this fight late, or at least make it close and make it hairy. You don't want to be laying minus 200 when the other fighter is going to have a significant advantage in the cardio like that. So I'm staying completely off of this one, and I would suggest pretty much everybody do the same. Jake Matthews taking on Jeremiah Wells. Matthews came in at 170. Wells came in at 170.5, and boy, did Jake Matthews look focused. He gave a solid flex, looked good up there on the scales too. Jeremiah Wells, this guy is jacked. He's another muscle mountain type of fighter, and he had some heavy eyelids. Now, he's a guy that's older. He's got that solid frame, packs a ton of muscle on himself, and then cuts weight to get here, so I'm sure he was just worn out from the weight cut, which is one of the things that we look for, we try to avoid. Can't really help it at this point. The size advantage goes significantly to Jake Matthews, and that's something that's a little bit concerning here for me. I am on Jeremiah Wells in this spot. This was a good, intense face-off, and honestly, what I saw on the scales today, now, again, this has nothing to do with skill sets, but the raw, sheer size of Jake Matthews and the fact that he looked fresh as a daisy up there on the scales concerns me a little bit when he is the younger fighter, he is the bigger fighter, taking on someone like Jeremiah Wells who relies on his explosive power and that gas tank holding up. So I am on Jeremiah Wells for better or for worse, but I don't feel great about it after seeing this today. Brian Barberena taking on Darion Weeks. Barb came in at 170.5, Weeks 170 on the dot. Brian Barberena was FaceTiming his kids and was too heavy on the scales with his phone, had to go ahead and put that down before they called the weight off. Beard game's on point, dude looked good, but he's a classic soft body, so again, we can't really look too far into that. Darion Weeks, well muscled. This kid is in shape, he looks good, looked great up there on the scales, good to go. Good size up, honestly. Slight size advantage to Darion Wells, and this is a spot where I would, again, just kind of express caution to people. We've got Brian Barberena as a slight favorite in this spot, and I totally get that. He should be the slight favorite. He's fought the much better level of competition in his UFC run. He's sitting about minus 135. You can get plus 110 on Darion Weeks, but the failing chin of Brian Barberena, I think, is a legitimate story here. I did look back into Darion Weeks. His boxing is pretty solid. He's explosive. He hits hard. Brian Barberena is not a guy that wrestles, and pretty much everybody that fights Weeks tries to grapple with him because they don't want to deal with him on the feet. Now, the guys that are knocking out Brian Barberena are boys like Vicente Luque. So is he on that level? No, obviously, Weeks is not quite on that level, at least as far as we know. But he is young, he is fresh, he's explosive. This is his moment to shine under the big lights. Could he pull off this kind of an upset? Absolutely. So I think this is potentially a buy low spot on Brian Barberena where he should have that veteran savvy, he should have that experience, but he's so shot at this point that there's no way I can bet on him, even though it's just minus 130. Clear stay away spot for me in this, but I wouldn't mind an under. Honestly, if you want to bet this one, if you got to have action, I wouldn't mind a violence bet, because I think Brian Barberena either shows this kid Weeks the ropes, or Weeks is going to come in there and land a big bomb and show everybody just how far Brian Barberena has fallen. So I think one way or another, somebody's getting finished in that fight. Don't mind the violence bet. Manel Kape taking on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Both guys come in at 125 pounds. Zhalgas looked good. His cheeks are sucked out like always. He's one of those guys that always looks like that up on the scales. And I gotta go ahead and rant here just for a second. I know that's not usually what this show is about, but I'm a little frustrated about this. Manel Kape, for the second fight in a row, has missed weight. Now, you may be saying, Clint, but you said he made 125 and a half. Yeah, that was what the official weight was called, but I put a tweet out about this earlier today. He absolutely was overweight. He was the last guy to the scale today. He was completely drenched in sweat, barely made it up there in time before they would have canceled this fight and or fined him for being late and missing yet again. They used the old wrestling scales, okay? So for those of you who do not understand how the wrestling scales work, they've got a bar that comes across like this, and when it's level, when it's even, that means that you have made the weight. They've got a counter weight that they can slide on the bottom to set it based on the weight class. So in this case, they would put that at 125 pounds or 126 pounds, giving them that extra pound allowance. When the fighter steps on the scale, that extra weight, that extra force, it automatically makes that level bar pop up like this, basically indicating that they're overweight. And what you've got to do is you got to give it a minute to settle, because it'll do this thing. It'll fluctuate until it settles here. And when it's flat, right smack in the middle, that's when you know they're on point. That's when you know that they have made weight. With that counterweight on there, it's pretty accurate. If you're underweight, it's actually going to dip down just a little bit like this. Now, they know when you're overweight because, of course, obviously, it doesn't come down to even. It stays topped up like that. Well, what happened today was Kape stepped on the scale. It pops up big time immediately, and then they let it come down to the level spot, and it rebounds back up. Like, that's what happens. You let the thing settle, like I mentioned before, because it should go up and down until it stops in the center. What his did is it came down and started to go back up. The guy clicked the counterweight off of it and called 125 pounds. So they did not give it the time to settle, and it absolutely was headed straight back up where it was. He came in overweight, folks. I don't care what anybody else has to say, and it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine here because of what's been going on, and I've got a bit of a tainted past with Manel Kape at this point when it comes to my betting with him anyway, and he's starting to kind of feel like a little bit of a weight bully, and I feel like he got away with one here today. Hate when that happens. If you come in overweight, own it, get your fine. You know, whatever. Last time I feel like he came overweight almost intentionally and took advantage of it. Cost me some money there, so I'm frustrated. But Zhalgas Zhumagulov in this spot, dude, this guy's iron. He's just absolutely made out of other stuff. It's so hard to finish him. I think we potentially have a live dog here in this spot, except now having Manel Kape missing weight again. And again, I don't care what the record says. He missed weight. He's going to have that advantage. He's going to be heavy in there on Saturday. He's the bigger guy, and that helps his explosiveness. That helps his knockout power, especially if they didn't make him, go back and cut additional weight for another hour while everybody else was hydrating back up. So I don't blame anybody for taking the dog shot on Zhalgas Zhumagulov. I really don't. I think his volume will keep this thing close, but I think that if Kape comes in here and puts that advantage to work the way he did last time, he probably wins those bigger, flashier moments, and that gets him the win. I'm staying completely away from this one. I'm not trusting Manel Kape at this size line, minus 250, minus 260, like... these things, obviously, I'm jesting here. Things are never fixed in the UFC, but the fix is in. You know what I mean? The kid's got the advantage here, so it makes it a little bit one-sided, a little bit unfair. If you got Kape in parlays, you're probably on the right side. I personally think it's a dog or pass type of spot, but I can't ignore the fact that he's coming in with a slight advantage here in this spot. And it already was tilted his way just based off of the fighting styles, his hand speed, etc. So I think Manel Kape is going to win this fight, and I don't like it. Maki Pitolo taking on Duško Todorović. We've got Maki coming in at 184.5. Gall. I'm looking at the wrong line there. Duško Todorović came in at 185 on the dot. Maki looked good. Now, he looked a bit tired. Physically, he looked solid, though. Gave a good flex. We're okay. Duško Todorović had a blank, expressionless stare up there today. Very uninspired flex. Similarly to what I was talking about with Chris Grutzmacher a little earlier on in the card, it just looks like Duško doesn't want to be there. I mean, he moved fine, but he didn't look like he was happy whatsoever to be on the scales today. Now, I know that sounds weird because they're cutting weight. Obviously, not everybody wants to be there, but for a guy that seems to have made weight okay, that kind of sends off a little red flag that it's like everything's fine, but he just looks like he wants out of there. Size advantage goes to Duško. These guys kept their distance. It was respectful. I am once again on the dog here. I'm playing a lot of dogs this week, folks. I'm steering straight into the variance. Maki Pitolo, I'm on him. I think I got plus 140. or plus 135, somewhere in that ballpark. I'm going to have to go back and look. But I like Maki Pitolo here. I'm just not sold on Duško. And this is a spot where if the guy's on a losing streak, his confidence is shot, and he looks a little checked out on the scales, that definitely puts me a little more on the Maki side. Already made the bet, obviously, but if I hadn't, that would be 1 point in Maki's favor. Alex Morono taking on Mickey Gall. Both guys came in at 170.5. Alex Morono threw his arms up, defiant look on this kid's face. You know I love my great white. Classic Alex up there. Mickey Gall looking like Uncle Rico up there with the facial hair, talking about the good old days. This guy's got abs for days. That long torso, I can never get over how long Mickey Gall is. But he looked good up on the scales, and decent size advantage Gall at the face-off as well. This is a spot where we probably have a live dog, but I'm not betting it. Alex Morono is a guy that I respect. I think his volume is going to be the key. I think his gas tank is going to be the key. Can't really count out Mickey Gall in this spot, though, because of the size advantage, the youth, the improvements we've seen him making, the power that he's starting to develop. I understand why people are taking a shot on Mickey Gall, but I am in the Alex Morono camp. Haven't had a bet on this one yet, though. The one thing I'm looking at, again, is betting on violence. I feel like this one is not going to go that far. Mickey Gall is a guy that gasses out, and we've seen the improvements in his striking and the power that he has now. If he hurts Morono, this could be a club and sub type of situation. If he doesn't hurt Morono, then he probably gets picked apart, and there's a chance that Morono uses that killer instinct and puts him away late. So maybe betting on violence, maybe passing altogether. Nothing for me on this one. Brendan Allen taking on Chris Curtis. Brendan Allen came in at 185.5. No issues. Very relaxed on the scales today. I was hoping he would struggle for my Chris Curtis bet, but he did not. Chris Curtis came in on 185 on the dot. Big smile, flexing pose. We love this guy's attitude. Always having fun up there. Looked great, though. Good, solid shape. Big size advantage for Allen. Now, we knew that coming in, right? We talked about how he could fight up at 205 if he really wanted to. So this one is a bit sketchier. It's a long shot. I think that Curtis has the tools to win this fight, and I hope he makes it close. Maybe is live for that third round TKO if Allen starts to slow down over the course of this fight. But this one's going to be sketchy. This one's going to be scary. I do have one unit on Chris Curtis, but this is more of a line value play. It's not like last time where he was a home run and I knew he was winning by knockout. This one is me saying I think the line is a little bit wide. He can make it close. Maybe he can get it done. I'm willing to roll the dice and take the shot. Clay Guida taking on Leonardo Santos. Guida came in at 155 on the dot. Santos 156. Guida, the birthday boy, came in here with his flag on him when he weighed in, so he was making weight no problem if he had that extra poundage on him. Santos looked good also, no issues. I mean, Santos is just way bigger than Clay Guida. When these guys face off, that was kind of the big thing that you could see is that Santos was huge compared to Clay Guida. I have not bet Santos yet. That's the side that I would be looking at. I just think his finishing upside is something that we can't get over here. Clay Guida's been submitted so many times in his career, and Santos hits people really, really hard. So if he rocks Guida at any point in time, or even if Guida comes in and looks to grapple with him, that choke is going to be there. That sub opportunity is going to be available. So I think it's favored or pass in this spot. No interest in riding with Clay Guida on this one. Jimmy Crute, Jamahal Hill, this is the good one. Crute came in at 205.5, Hill 205 on the dot. Crute gave a big old flex, rocking his mullet, did a little hair flip, letting people know what's up. Jamahal Hill looked great shape. He gave his double thumbs up on the scales today. Both guys ready to go. Intense face-off. These guys both know what's on the line. Two up-and-coming stars in the division. Can't wait for this one. Hill slightly taller. We know he's got the reach advantage. I bet Jamahal Hill a long time ago. I bet Jamahal Hill big. He's my favorite bet on this card this week. He's the underdog that I feel like should probably be even money or even maybe a favorite. I know there's a lot of people out there singing the praises of Jimmy Crute. I think his game is minimal. If I'm being honest, I think if Jamahal Hill is able to just get back up, defend one or two takedowns, this is going to be a landslide performance. Jamahal Hill does not have the submission upside that a guy like Paul Craig does, so he's going to need to rely on control, winning minutes, that big power that he's got. And I think he's going to have a hard time finding Hill, because when he tries to put that power to work, Hill is going to use his footwork. He's going to use his movement. He's going to stay outside and use his reach. The only way Hill really loses this thing is if he gives up his back and he gives it up early, or if he can't get out from under Jimmy Crute and he gets ground and pounded, but I don't really see that happening. I think Hill is savvy enough to get himself to the cage and work his way back up to his feet if he does get taken down. I don't think he'll get stuck there. So, yeah, I'm big on Jamahal Hill this weekend. That's my favorite spot on the card. Big underdog. Love it. Brad Riddell, Rafael Fiziev, the people's main event here. Both guys came in at 155.5. I'll be honest, Brad Riddell looked a little bit tired today, but physically looked good, absolutely shredded. We know this guy cuts a lot of weight to get down here. He moved well afterwards, so I'm not overly concerned. Rafael Fiziev, he had that self-confident smirk that he always does, flashing his number one up there. Looked great, as ever. These guys size up extremely well. Slight size advantage goes to Brad Riddell. The thickness advantage slightly goes to Rafael Fiziev. They face up pretty solidly, actually. These guys look good going head-to-head. This is going to be a fun fight. I've already got 2 units on Brad Riddell at even money, plus 100. I think he should be the favorite clearly in this spot. I think the wrestling and the gas tank are going to be the edges that get him over here. It's scary going against Rafael Fiziev. I know the guy is a monster. I know his striking is incredible, but I think Brad Riddell is a good enough kickboxer to stay alive in there. Mix in the full, well-rounded MMA game, and then just have better cardio in that 3rd round and put a stamp on this thing. Main event time. José Aldo taking on Rob Font. Font came in at 134, Aldo 136. Rob Font looked mean, let me tell you. Completely dialed in, focused. He had a rash guard on, so couldn't really get a good look at his body or anything like that, but just his facial expression let you know he was serious today. José Aldo, Skeletor checking in, baby. We always know what this guy looks like on the scales these days. Shredded, absolutely shredded. This guy was exhausted, completely sucked out, but you know what? That's what he does these days. We're fully aware of that. We know that's going to be the case, and he does just fine on fight nights. So we can't read too far into the fact that José Aldo looked a little rough on the scales. I've lost money doing that before. When they faced up, they size up extremely well. The difference is Aldo is so much thicker than Rob Font. Rob Font is a natural 135er. You can tell he's lankier, he's skinnier, his whole build is just slimmer. José Aldo, on the other side, looks like a 155er who's forced his body down to 135, because that's exactly what's happened here. He is... I mean, you can see the tendons and the bones and the striations of the muscles, and he just fills back up by fight time. So he's going to be big in the cage on Saturday. Now, what happens in these cases is I find an angle, and it doesn't quite pan out for, 2 or 3 fights in a row, and then I finally go, you know what, that's not working. I'm just going to hang it up because apparently I'm wrong, and then it comes through. So as much as I'm sitting here talking about José Aldo and how big he's going to be on Saturday, my initial read was that Rob Font is going to have a gas tank advantage. He's going to have a boxing advantage, and then he's going to have that cardio advantage. He's going to be able to drag this fight deep, and that volume and the cardio is going to eventually break someone like José Aldo. And here I am going, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not going to be able to beat José Aldo ever in my betting career. And the fact that he's going to be bigger, and the fact that he wings those giant hooks, and he's not going to be at that bad of a reach disadvantage. He'll be at a size advantage. He'll be stronger. It's all making me want to switch sides here and bet José Aldo. My history of losing against Aldo is definitely making me course correct here a little bit. But all the smart people I've talked to and my initial read on the fight were Rob Font, and I feel like I need to stick true to that. At this point, I don't have a bet on the main event. I may pass. I have so much action on this entire card that I really don't know that I need a bet on the main event besides just something to sweat for the last fight of the night. So my lean is Rob Font. I kind of lean to him finishing late in this fight, round 4, round 5, somewhere in that ballpark if he can outpace José Aldo. I also think the under has some merit because, as I mentioned before, the power and the size of José Aldo, he might show Rob Font what's up once they get in there on Saturday. So I would be looking at Rob Font, or I would be looking at under if I was going to approach betting this one. At this time, I'm passing. As always, follow me at Die-Hard MMA Pod on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram and TikTok. So if you want to follow me at any of those spots, it's just Die-Hard MMA. Give it a search. You'll find me. That's where you'll find all my official bets. As soon as I make a bet, I lock it in. I tweet it out. I let everybody know what I am on. I hope this information was useful to you, and I hope you're able to make a more educated bet. Put some money in your pocket. Good luck, everybody, on your degenerate action tomorrow for UFC Vegas 44. Let's roll.